The ice-cold beauty CEO, Emily, made it known to the world that in 7 days she would marry me, a blind man. People were touched by her genuine love, saying I was the luckiest man alive. When she found out I could see again, she hugged me tightly and cried tears of joy. She even spent a fortune getting drones to create a sparkling starry sky for me. Underneath the vast stars, she swore she'd be loyal to me for the rest of her life. Paul, we're going to be the most envied couple in the world someday. I forced a smile. Someday? For us, there's no someday. Emily bought a huge cruise ship, inviting all sorts of VIPs just to celebrate my eyes recovering. You are truly blessed to have a woman like her, a nearby caretaker said, full of envy. I stared at Emily from a distance, holding her wine glass. She looked stunning in a deep V mermaid dress, gracefully mingling with the guests. Then I replied flatly, yeah, she loves me dearly, as if her life depended on it. Emily's love for me was truly moving. She donated her kidney to me back in college when I needed a transplant due to kidney failure, against her family's wishes. So, 5 years ago, when she was trapped in a fire, I rushed in to save her without regard for my life. That's how I lost my eyesight, due to the thick smoke that time. We had gotten our marriage certificate and were preparing for the wedding, but it was delayed because of the incident. For those 5 years, my world was dark, and Emily would cry in the middle of the night because of guilt. She said she'd be my eyes from then on. She spent so much energy and money searching for a top doctor to cure my eyes. She was willing to give me her eyes if she could. Believe me, if anyone said she was cheating, they'd be mistaken for a lunatic. I used to think that too. But a month ago, I was haunted by the nightmare of her and her lover Mike going at it right next to me. She has no idea that a few months ago my sight came back. The only reason I continued to pretend was that my feelings of disappointment weren't fully formed yet. I wanted to see her betrayal clearly and let go completely. A reporter live streaming the event stopped Emily. Emily, we heard this cruise ship was specially bought for Paul. Is that true? Emily glanced my way, her eyes full of affection. Yes, my husband went blind saving me from a fire, and I promised him that when he recovered, we'd watch the stars and seas together. The crowd erupted with applause, as if we were the ultimate couple in their eyes. Emily looked at me lovingly, and I met her gaze with a bland smile. She thought I was happy with her answer, but she couldn't see the disappointment and resolve to leave deep in my eyes. Afraid she'd sense something off in my gaze, I turned away, took a sip of my red wine. At that moment, the wine's bitterness echoed my heartache. Another guest suddenly asked, Emily, why is the ship named Muhai? Is there a special meaning? Hearing this, my hand trembled, spilling wine everywhere. Emily gave me a guilty look, then calmly explained, this is a sea cruise. Mu means to yearn, so it means yearning for the sea. My husband always loved the sea, saying our hearts should be as wide as the ocean, accepting everything. Another applause followed. I did say one's heart should be as open as the sea, but betrayal? Is that worthy of acceptance? As everyone focused on Emily, I slipped away into a quiet corner. Then I dialed a number. Captain, I agree to join the Arctic scientific expedition. The voice on the line was excited. Paul, it's great you've decided this. The country really needs you. We've had our eyes on you for years as a valuable research talent. You always said you'd consider it. You know, the Arctic is extreme, the weather's unpredictable and deadly, and the mission is years long with no contact with the outside world. Make sure you think it through. I was firm. I request permission. Captain. Sighing, he reluctantly agreed. This is a confidential affair. Your wedding is coming up. How will you explain to Emily? A bitter smile spread on my face. If I'm planning to leave her forever, what's to explain? If it weren't for her, maybe I couldn't take life and death lightly or choose such a dangerous path. On the wedding day, when Emily can't find me anywhere, how will she feel? Betrayal deserves punishment. Captain, I have one request. Declare me lost at sea. All right, time's tight. 7 days from now, be at the rendezvous point. I'll share the details later. After hanging up, relief washed over me. I felt lighter than ever. I casually lit a cigarette. That's when I heard someone calling my name. Honey, I've been looking everywhere for you. Hiding here? Emily looked all frazzled. She couldn't find me and was worried sick. This once happened before. My phone died and Emily, desperate to reach me, offered a big reward for anyone who could find me. Back then, I felt happy for a solid month. But now I just felt numb inside. Seeing her worried face, I waved the cigarette. Just needed a smoke. She smiled, linking her arm with mine. Did you forget what today is? I looked at her, puzzled. She poked my forehead, snuggling up to me. Your own birthday, and you forgot? I had forgotten about it myself. The scent of her, like hawthorn flowers, made my stomach churn. Quietly, I slid away from her embrace. Sorry for worrying you. Ignoring my strangeness, she just smiled. We've been married forever. Why so polite? Let's go cut the cake. She pulled me back to the party, and my phone buzzed along the way. Do you know why the cruise ship is named this? Because I'm the real owner of this ship. Emily gave it to me. Heard it's your birthday today? I'll give you a big surprise. Mike sent 2 messages and a provocative video. It wasn't the first time he'd sent such messages, and it won't be the last. I quickly glanced at them and then turned off the screen. Walking behind Emily, I noticed she was trembling. Are you feeling okay? I'm fine. She slightly bit her red lips, her voice trembling. I looked at her tousled hair and the blush that hadn't faded, and a suspicion arose in my mind. Back at the party, there was a towering 9-layer cake, like a mini tower, drawing gasps from everyone. Just when everyone was waiting for me to blow out the candles, I noticed Emily seemed a bit distracted. Her legs were tightly crossed, and she had a peculiar expression. Paul, wait, I need to use the restroom. Before I could respond, Emily quickly ran off. 5 minutes later, she returned, looking calm. Sorry, I had to rush out. You go ahead and make a wish. She apologized, but she couldn't meet my eyes. I glanced at her newly changed skirt, nodded, closed my eyes for a moment, and then blew out the candles. Emily smiled again. Honey, what did you wish for? I smiled mysteriously. If I tell, it won't come true. She had no idea that my biggest wish was to get away from her forever. In front of everyone, Emily kissed my cheek and took a gift box from an assistant. Look, what gift did I prepare for you? This watch was custom made for you by a master international watchmaker. Took an entire year. When I saw what was in the box, any last hopes I had were shattered. Emily saw my cold expression and got a bit uneasy. What's wrong? You don't like my gift? I forced a smile. Of course I like it. I finally understood what Mike meant by a surprise. In the box was a watch, Emily's worn stockings, and an adult toy. The sticky residue was like a sharp pain in my eyes. It was a surprise too big for me to handle. When I returned to my room to rest, Mike sent another provocative message. What do you think? Satisfied with the surprise I arranged for you? You'd never imagine how the woman who says she loves you could be in private. Every meeting with her, I'll share with you. Paul, you're a complete failure. Emily truly loves me. I turned off the screen and lit a cigarette. Gazing at my reflection in the screen, I remained silent as tears streamed down my face. After being gone for a while, Emily suddenly entered the room. Seeing my red eyes, she quickly hugged me, frightened. What's wrong, honey? Are your eyes uncomfortable again? Her concern didn't seem fake. I looked at the woman who was both familiar and unfamiliar. Right now, she was totally different from the woman in the video. The leftover blush on her face and the kiss marks on her collar revealed she'd been with Mike. I couldn't imagine how she could just have had an affair and then calmly show concern for me. Exhaustion overwhelmed me as I rubbed my aching temples. Nothing, just needs some rest. At night, a rare meteor shower lit up the sky. Emily, excited like a little girl, dragged me to the deck. She made a wish on the shooting stars. I'm Emily, and I love Paul the most in my life. I want to have kids with him and be the happiest bride. Tomorrow we'll pick out the wedding dress. I'm excited and a bit nervous. I watched her serious expression, filled with pain. Her love for me was undeniable, but her betrayal was like a thorn in my heart, bleeding. Our love was like the meteor streaking across the sky, so brilliant yet so brief. After leaving the cruise, we headed to the bridal shop. In the car, Emily held my hand tightly. Every time I quietly pulled away, she held on even tighter, afraid I'd leave her. Seeing I was down, Emily tried to cheer me up with jokes. Usually serious, she'd search the internet for jokes just to make me laugh. Even if they weren't funny, I'd force myself to smile. She could have been a perfect wife. Busy with her company during the day, she'd always be home by 8 p.m., bathing me, having dinner together, and listening to music. In the years I was blind, she formed a habit. Every night before bed, she'd read to me. At sleep time, she'd bring me a hot milk and read tirelessly beside my bed. I felt sorry for her and said reading apps could do the job. But she insisted it wasn't the same. She laughed and said she wanted to be my eyes and that reading to me was just a tiny thing. She wanted to take me around the world, showing me every beautiful place. Thinking of the past while hearing her stiff jokes, I couldn't focus. My mind was a mess. The driver glanced at us through the rearview mirror, smiling contently. "Ma'am, your love with Sir has been the same for 20 years. It's remarkable. Oh, the ring you asked me to fetch is in the storage compartment in the back." Emily seemed oddly nervous. "Are you sure you got the right one?" The driver was sure. "Yes, the receipt had your name." Emily relaxed and took a red box from the compartment. "Honey, here's the latest ring I had custom made for you. In a few days at our wedding, I want to put it on you myself. Check if it fits. I spent half a year designing this ring, going through dozens of versions before finalizing it. It's a testament to our deep love and means so much." Her excited words and overflowing happiness made me feel like this wasn't real. I wasn't all that interested, but Emily was staring at me so eagerly that I sort of accepted my fate and opened the fancy box. But when I saw the engraving on the ring, my heart suddenly sank. A line of tiny letters felt like sharp needles poking my eyes repeatedly. "Emily and Mike love forever." My fingers trembled as I held the ring in my palm. It was heavy, just like my heart that was sinking fast. "What's wrong?" Emily noticed my blank stare at the ring and got a little anxious for no reason. I shook my head and tried to put the ring on, but it didn't work out. "Seems a bit tight." "How's that possible?" Emily skeptically took the ring from my hand and checked it. In that moment, her eyes were full of panic. She sneaked a peek at my face, and seeing my calm expression, she breathed a sigh of relief. "It must be the designer's mistake with the size. I'll have them redo it, there's still time." I nodded and turned to look at the scenery outside the window. Emily gave me a discreet glance, feeling some unexplained irritation, but she couldn't figure out why. The car got uncomfortably silent. Even the driver seemed a bit nervous and kept checking on us through the rearview mirror. But the tension didn't last long, as our phones suddenly buzzed. Both of us received a message and checked our phones with our own thoughts, then quickly turned the screens off. Mike sent a photo, and that's when I realized the ring meant for me was still with him. The ring was identical to the one I just saw. "I'm sorry, but I threw your ring in the trash. My ring will now be the only one truly meant for Emily." Mike was trying to upset me, but I wasn't angry at all. In fact, I should thank him. Otherwise, if I got that same ring meant for someone else, I wouldn't know what to do with it. Love isn't something that can be split in two or shared. When we got to the bridal shop, Emily couldn't wait to put on the wedding dress. When she appeared in front of me in a flawless white gown, I felt a bit dazed. Back in college, when Emily took on a bridal ad, I was there while she shot pictures in a wedding dress. That was the first time she wore one. It was a breathtaking moment, one I couldn't forget. Since then, I always dreamed of her wearing a wedding dress to marry me happily. But now, that dream has just turned into disappointment. Noticing me lost in thought while looking at her, Emily blushed with a long mist shyness. "Honey, do I look good?" I nodded without thinking. Just as I was drowning in my thoughts, my phone buzzed again. "Doesn't Emily look beautiful in her wedding dress? But do you think if I beckoned her, she'd come running to me?" As if to prove Mike's words, Emily took a quick look at her phone and immediately called a waiter over. "Help my husband pick out some suits, make sure they fit perfectly." Then she turned to me. Honey, please be patient and try on the suits. I need to use the restroom. I closed my eyes in despair and nodded. Watching her lift her skirt and hurry away, I couldn't help but mock myself. Could one Mike really make her so eager? I let the attendant fit suit after suit on me, like I was a mindless mannequin. Another message from Mike came with a video and some text. Emily looks stunning in a wedding dress. In the video, Emily was beaming, looking like a bride about to wed. Her pure white dress was supposed to represent the purity of love. But to see her wearing it while with another man was just so ironic. Their passionate kisses felt like a hammer striking my heart over and over. The pain was unbearable. My vision suddenly went blurry, and the familiar darkness from my time being blind flooded my sight again. My eyes were burning, and a nightmare of fear washed over me like a wave. My legs buckled, and I almost fell, holding my stinging eyes as my whole body trembled. If the attendant hadn't caught me, I might have hit my head hard. "Sir, are you all right?" The lady attendant panicked when she saw my tears tinged with blood. Maybe she heard something happen to me. Emily rushed in a bit disheveled, looking really worried. "Honey, what's wrong? Your eyes, they're bleeding." She was almost in tears, frantically calling for help, urging every renowned doctor in the city towards the bridal shop. She always freaked out whenever anything was wrong with me. But oddly enough, this woman who once cherished me above all else was now my deepest wound. I tried calming myself and stopped her. "I'm fine. Just got too excited thinking about the wedding day coming up." Emily's pale face finally regained some color, and she let out a relieved sigh. "You scared me to death. How about we go to the doctor for a checkup? You just got your sight back." "No need. Are you done trying on the wedding dress? I think this one's perfect. Let's go with it." Pointing to her wedding dress, Emily's lips quivered, wanting to say something but stopped. "All right, as long as you like it. Whatever you want, I'll go along with it, no matter how unreasonable it might be. After we get married, we'll have a son and a daughter. The son will look like you, all handsome and smart. The daughter will be like me, beautiful and gentle. And then they'll grow up, get married, and have kids. When we're old, I'll do gardening with you and raise fish, surrounded by grandchildren." She was already dreaming about the future. But that's not our future. There's no future for us anymore. Coming out of the bridal shop on the way back to the villa, Emily fell asleep on my shoulder, exhausted. Right then, the captain sent me a message. "Paul, your application has been approved. Report to the secret location I sent you in 3 days. Attached is the agreement you need to sign. Once you sign, your identity will be erased, and all traces of you in this country will be removed." I clicked the link and signed my name eagerly without even reading the terms. As long as it meant leaving Emily, no demand was too harsh. From now on, it's my path versus hers. I head across the ocean, while she stays marrying Mike. The day before my departure, Emily got up early to make breakfast for both of us. We have maids, but Emily always makes my breakfast herself, every day of the year without fail. She kissed me awake, murmuring with a playful tone as she snuggled into my chest. "Honey, I have a meeting today, so I need to leave early. I made breakfast for you. Don't mind getting up early to eat it so it doesn't get cold and make you sick. I already prepared your milk too." She was as thoughtful as always. I replied softly, looking her over. Today, Emily had light makeup on, and her legs in thin stockings beneath a fitted skirt made her even more attractive. She said she had a meeting, but I had my suspicions. Just before, Mike messaged me again. "It's my birthday today. Emily agreed to a few days getaway with me. Guess what I asked for? She promised to wear different colored stockings every day. Plus, she told me it's her safe period." After she left, I went to the bathroom, splashing water on my face repeatedly and brushing my teeth over and over. I sprayed alcohol on every part of me she touched. Once I was sure no scent of her lingered, I walked out to the living room. I tossed the breakfast Emily made into the trash and made my own. Soon after, she texted me. "Honey, I have a 2-day business trip. Stay put and wait for me at home. I'll bring you back a gift. Also, since we're getting married soon, let's not use protection. I want to have your child." exactly as expected. She couldn't wait to go on a getaway with her little lover. At that moment, I felt relieved. It gave me plenty of time to prepare to leave. After breakfast, I packed my luggage, only taking a few clothes. Anything not related to research I left behind. I didn't take any jewelry Emily bought me, because leaving them would only add to the sadness. Then, I mechanically printed out the divorce agreement and signed it without thinking. I placed it in a gift box. I spent some time editing the video Mike sent me, then put the footage on a USB drive along with my phone in the gift box. I packaged the box neatly. Looking at the wilting flowers in the villa garden, I took a machete and cut them all down. I had them planted for Emily to see different blooms year-round. But now, my love had withered like those flowers, and they had no reason to stay. Gazing at the familiar house, I felt a calmness I had never felt before, like a long pressured gloom suddenly released. The maid saw me with my luggage and teased with a smile. "Sir and Miss Emily are really in love." She was packing, too, this morning, being so careful not to wake you. "You must be going on a honeymoon trip with her." Huh? I glossed over her remark, then remembered something. "Wendy, tell Miss Emily there's a gift in the drawer for her to open on the wedding day." The maid, seeing the secrecy in my voice, smiled knowingly. "Ah, little romantic gestures between you two, I understand." I gave a vague smile, dragging my luggage downstairs, and hailed a car to the place the captain designated. Just as I was getting in, Emily called on video. I answered. "What's up?" On the screen, she seemed hesitant, silent for a while before speaking. "Nothing, I just miss you. Honey, after we're married, I plan to dedicate my life to you, being a good wife and mother, staying out of the public eye, while the weight of the company will be on you." I could tell she had a sudden realization, but it was too late. The car drove towards the secret meeting point. Meeting the captain, we hugged. "Welcome to the team. We were just waiting for you. Are you sure you don't want to tell your fiancé anything?" The captain noticed my unnerving calmness, sensing something had happened. I shook my head. "No need. It's all in the past. My future is in the Arctic wilderness." The captain was silent for a moment, then looked at me with sympathy. "We conduct thorough investigations on recruits, including people around them. We found that your fiancé has a close relationship with a guy named Mike." At the mention of Mike, my thoughts drifted back to when I lost my vision 5 years ago. Before that, I was the vice president of the group, managing many affairs large and small. Emily worried I was overworked and hired an assistant. Initially, Mike didn't meet company standards and couldn't even get an interview. He stayed outside the company all day, pleading with me for a chance as I was leaving work. Seeing his eagerness, I decided to give him a shot. Most importantly, he looked about 70% like me. Seeing him was like seeing a younger version of myself. First, Mike behaved pretty decently. But later, he got arrogant because of Emily's favor and started acting like a bully, causing the employees to complain. I intended to let him go, but life didn't go as planned. I went blind trying to save Emily. After losing my sight, I couldn't keep my position and stepped down. Emily, in her affection, kept Mike close. But over time, Mike became complacent and developed bad intentions. He resented me for not promoting him and schemed to trap Emily with his charm. They got closer over time, and Emily even bought a villa for Mike. I never imagined my goodwill would invite trouble. I sometimes wonder if things would have been different without Mike. But eventually, I realized it wasn't about him. Without Mike, there could have been someone else if she was already contemplating infidelity. Loyalty or betrayal? She chose the latter, pushing our relationship into the abyss. Whenever Mike came around, no matter what she was doing, she'd drop everything to be with him. She even secretly left home in the middle of the night. That one night, she thought I was fast asleep, not knowing that I was wide awake. She even put sleeping pills in my pre-bed milk for a thrill, then brought Mike to our bedroom, acting all intimate right in front of me. She thought I was oblivious, unable to see, but I was aware of everything. The painful memories began to show on my face. The captain patted my shoulder to comfort me, saying, "All right, it's all in the past. No point dwelling on it." Why not focus on the science project you've always loved? We're setting off soon. Haven't you always wanted to experience the vastness of the sea? Come explore it with us. His words rekindled my spirit. He was right. The past is behind, and a new future is what I should pursue for the rest of my life. My identity is now erased, and Paul no longer exists in this world. Emily can drown in her endless regrets. Meanwhile, Emily sat on a plane high above, watching clouds sweep by as her eyelids twitched. If she could, she'd call Paul right away, but the plane didn't allow it. Next to her, Mike pouted with jealousy. Emily, still thinking about Paul? Let's just have fun like we planned. Forget about him. He can't just take off, can he? Usually, when Mike complained, Emily would patiently comfort him. But this time, she felt nothing but annoyance and repulsion. Shut up. Can you let me be? Mike was taken aback, not expecting Emily to snap at him. He thought acting pitiful would draw her to him like before. But he misjudged this time. Emily's mind was full of Paul. She suddenly regretted giving in to Mike's allure and running off with him. Mike. Hearing his name, Mike's face lit up again. I knew you wouldn't stay mad. But Emily ignored his grumbling and coldly said, Once the plane lands, I'm heading back. I'm not going on this trip with you. Let me ask again, Paul doesn't know about us, right? Seeing her fierce look, Mike shivered. He didn't dare admit the truth and faked a calm smile. No way, I wouldn't dare. Good, Emily warned sternly. I told you before, whatever happens between us, Paul must never find out. If you let slip a hint, there will be consequences. Mike was scared, his face pale and his voice shaky. Got it. 2 hours later, Emily left Mike and chartered a flight back. The closer she got to home, the more uneasy she felt, like an instinct of impending dread. Upon landing, she immediately tried calling Paul, but he didn't answer. Panic set in as she reached the villa, which seemed unfamiliar. What was once lush was now barren. The once blooming flowers were uprooted. Even the green lawn had turned yellow and dry. Darling, I'm home. Where are you? She shouted, but silence was her only response. The bag of butterscotch she had picked up for Paul fell from her hand. It was his favorite, but it didn't matter now. She dashed around the villa like a whirlwind, searching. The bedroom, empty. The study, also empty. She had searched everywhere. The bathroom, kitchen, backyard, even the basement, but there was still no sign of Paul. The huge mansion was empty, not a soul in sight. Emily, in a panic, tried calling Paul again. His phone was still off. Her lips trembled with worry, her mind in a chaotic state. Wait, Wendy. Emily called the nanny, and when it connected, she tensed up. Wendy, where is he? The voice on the other end chuckled. Isn't he with you on your honeymoon? I saw him pack a bag before you left, and he mentioned there was a gift for you in the drawer. Emily's phone slipped from her hand. Ignoring the rest of what was being said, she rushed to the bedroom and opened the closet. Just like the nanny said, Paul had only packed a few clothes, and the suitcase was gone too. She collapsed on the floor, eyes blank. Honey, where are you? Are you upset with me for not spending time with you? So you're hiding? Her voice choked with tears. Once she calmed down, she remembered the last thing the nanny mentioned. A gift. That's right, a gift. She opened all the drawers in the room and finally found an ornate box. It was wrapped in beautiful paper with an equally elegant ribbon. Emily suddenly laughed. My husband is so crafty, scaring me like this before surprising me. She thought, someone planning to leave wouldn't bother with such meticulous packaging. Little did she know, Paul's intention was to make her feel unsettled. When she opened the box, she found a phone Paul had used and a USB drive. Turning on the phone, missed calls poured in. Browsing through his messages, she found conversations with Mike. As Emily scrolled up, each message was like a punch in the gut. She felt as if her chest would burst into flames. Mike, how could you do this? Seeing such provoking words and videos, even Emily couldn't help but tremble with anger. Imagine how Paul felt at the time. Pain, sorrow, despair. Paul, you knew the whole time. You stayed silent, letting your disappointment in me grow. Emily let out a pained cry. With shaky hands, she plugged the USB into the computer. After seeing the videos in the folder, color drained from her face. The scenes playing out were moments with Mike, reckless and wild. Those once joyful memories now felt like a blade, cutting her down with each frame. As she delved deeper, there was a paper at the bottom of the box. With bitter reluctance, she took it out. It was a divorce agreement. The handwriting she recognized felt like a death sentence for her love. Her world spun, her vision fading into darkness. In the moment she fainted, she finally realized how terrifying life is without light. Paul must have been in such pain and fear for the last 5 years. How could I have been so cruel to him? Her consciousness started to drift away. After who knows how long, she faintly heard crying. Warmth spread through her fingers. Her heart, filled with despair, started to beat again. Paul, I knew you couldn't leave me. Emily woke up. Before she could speak, her voice stopped abruptly. The person she saw wasn't Paul. It was Mike. Mike's face was stained with tears. Seeing Emily awake, he almost cheered. Emily, thank God you're awake. You scared me. Emily realized she was in a hospital bed, her gaze turning icy. Slap. The sound echoed in the room. Mike, holding his face in disbelief, stared at Emily. Emily, why did you hit me? Hit you? I wish I could do more. Emily's eyes burned red. I told you again and again, keep things with Paul a secret. And what did you do? You provoked him, sent secret videos to rile him up. What's your motive? Mike looked guilty, lowering his head. I just love you so much. Emily laughed coldly, then suddenly sobbed. You call that love? Do you even know what love is? Between us, it was just physical. You satisfied me, I gave you material things. Paul and I, that's true love. We were childhood sweethearts, and you were just his stand-in. Didn't you notice you look a bit like him when he was young? Mike, hit by this revelation, looked thunderstruck. He couldn't believe he'd always been just a substitute for Paul. No way. The joy you felt beneath me, that can't be fake. I could feel it. That was love. Emily, seeing his denial, laughed bitterly through her anger. Yeah, back then I was genuinely happy because I thought of you as him. Before Mike could fall into despair, Emily got off the hospital bed, pushed him away, and rushed back to the company. She mobilized all resources and spared no expense, spending billions to find Paul. But she received a devastating message. Paul's identity had been erased. There was no record of him. Some say he went out to sea, was lost in a shipwreck, and buried in the ocean. He disappeared like he never existed at all. Emily was almost losing her mind. She couldn't believe Paul was gone. Every day, she did nothing but chase after anyone who might resemble Paul. Business at the company plummeted, and Emily grew increasingly frail. She started hanging out in bars, drowning in alcohol, and at night, she'd cry alone in a corner. In the 5th year, my research in the Arctic finally bore fruit. Our team cried in each other's arms. Everything had been so tough. In the harsh conditions of snow and ice, survival wasn't guaranteed. I witnessed some of my closest teammates die from illness. Out of a team of 15, only 10 made it back. Having faced life and death, I've become more resilient. Sitting on the plane, looking at myself in a picture, my cheekbones sharp and eyes clear, I felt reborn. Inside, I felt a whirlwind of emotions. It was like waking from a dream. The captain smiled and patted my shoulder. Paul, so 5 years still not planning to reclaim your identity? I shook my head. I'm not Paul. I'm Chinju now. All right, you've been the star of this research project. The country plans to award you a first-class Medal of Honor. From now on, you'll be the captain of the team. The captain glanced down at his double-amputated legs, his eyes dulling. He'd lost his legs in a tragic accident during an expedition, unable to continue his work. On the day we returned home, I got off the plane and gave an interview live on TV. As we were getting into the car to head to the award ceremony, someone called my name. Paul, is that you? I ignored it and got into the car. Emily risked getting her hand caught in the car door to stop me. I know it's you. Don't you want me anymore? Husband? Emily was a shell of her former self, missing her previous confident demeanor. I smiled slightly. You've got the wrong person. I'm not who you're looking for. Also, I'm married. A figure appeared, holding my hand, our fingers interlocked. Her name is Tiffany, also a member of the expedition. We shared life and death experiences together. In the Arctic, we took the sky and ice as our witnesses, and our bond was forged with our lives. This lady, please do not bother my husband. We have important things to do. With a wave, Tiffany had security pull Emily away. No way. He's my Paul. She screamed, tears filling her eyes. I showed no emotion, resolutely getting in the car. Paul, don't leave me. I regret it. I know I was wrong. Her voice faded away. Beside me, Tiffany held my hand tight and smiled. Any regrets? I nodded. Yes, I regret not meeting you sooner. She smiled brightly. That day, I received the nation's highest honor. Not long after, I got assigned to a new task. As we were leaving, I heard some dreadful news. Emily had tried to kill herself by cutting her wrists with a blade. Although she survived, she lost her mind. As for Mike, I heard he was taken somewhere isolated and cut off from the world. Inside me, I felt no waves, only the excitement and ambition for a new future.